Today we're going to talk more about instilling a foundation in our barrel horses, but not just a foundation, a very thorough and solid one. Now it's easy to overlook these elements of our horse's development, but if you look at any well-done maneuver performed at a high level, it's all simply built on very highly refined basics. The more time we spend strengthening our horses and especially our own basics, the more potential we'll have for success on the barrel pattern. Now the place we bought here in Texas has solid metal pipe H braces in the corners of the pastures and the fencing. Now you can imagine if that fencing was built, if someone would have decided that burying the H braces only a foot deep or not using concrete to secure them was just good enough, then surely there would be problems eventually. If we bury a post in the ground, its strength is determined by its depth. So if you're really serious about being a successful barrel racer like I am, then it will always be worth your time to devote yourself to continuously strengthening your own and your horse's foundations. This is because how thorough and solid it is directly connected to how high and how far and fast you'll be able to go. So to create ones that stand the test of time, today I'm going to show you our three aged geldings who all have drastically differing backgrounds and levels of education as I go through my foundation checklist and not only demonstrate and give you examples of what my expectations are, but also tips for instilling these important foundational elements yourself. Of course, I couldn't go into great depth in all areas, but my hope was to really give you some tips that I feel are most commonly overlooked or misunderstood in the barrel racing world. This is Frosty, and he is coming out of retirement after being a pasture ornament for almost 7 years. And at minimum, our hopes are for him to be a part-time practice horse for my husband. And so we're working on conditioning him physically and filling in some foundational elements that he'd been lacking from his previous level of education. One of the things I feel is really important is for a horse to very willingly guide forward and back and around with a feel on the lead rope. And that has so much to do with how we communicate with them and the meaning we give this. So basically what I don't want to do is I never ever want to get in like a pulling tug of war sort of a match, because when you do that, you're just teaching your horse to get familiar with that feel of resistance and pulling, and that's not a place that I want my horse to dwell at all. So again, this is just an area I have really high expectations for my horse, and that this even when there is slack in this line, there is meaning and communication there. Young horses especially will need hours and hours and hours of consistent practice at standing tied. I'll go ahead and help them move their feet until they realize that having the opportunity to rest and relax at the trailer is actually a more appealing option. It's our responsibility to get our horses comfortable and confident with having their feet handled, and also making the trailer a real comfort zone. And so if we don't, we're really just adding unnecessary stress to our lives. These things are completely workable. One tip for getting your horse to be really comfortable in the trailer is simply feeding them in the trailer on a consistent basis, even for just 30 days. Start out at a distance from their hindquarters with driving pressure, either using a stick or twirling the end of your lead rope to get those hindquarters to yield away. When you get a horse super soft and responsive in a halter, they're going to be much more responsive in a bridle, meaning that you really gives you the opportunity to save your horse's mouth and you'll be able to have a higher level of communication with less pressure. Make sure that they are actually crossing over that hind leg for a true disengagement. So Frosty is 20 years old, and you will see that, there's a fair amount of resistance here, but I just want to point out that his body, physically, he's actually very supple and flexible. It's that the resistance that you see exists primarily between his ears. After a basic foundation is established, further development really depends on and builds on these basic understandings. Always put horsemanship before sportsmanship, and when you are ready to start on the barrel pattern, everything will come together so much more quickly and easily. Here you'll see that .com is maintaining a fairly nice forward trot, but he is not maintaining direction on the circle very well, and also the shape as far as the flexion from over his back and through his top line is not real great. So he's maintaining gait, but as far as shape and direction, it could use some improvement. I will haul horses quite a bit before I actually consider exhibitioning or entering, just so that they can get acclimated to the sights and sounds without the additional pressure of competing. When you think about all of the various ways that you can isolate and combine all these different body parts, as well as the different types of flexion and the different gaits and so forth, there's really an unlimited number of ways to test your foundation, and you are likely to run into some brace in your horse's body and mind when you actually do this. So this is excellent. Get creative here and really combine all these things to really test out your foundation. Building a quality fence takes know-how, the right tools, and time, but especially when it comes to preparing a horse, which is a living, breathing, thinking, feeling being, for a lifetime of low-stress success and enjoyment for humans. It's something that I couldn't be more enthusiastic about developing in ourselves so that we can give that gift to the horses that we love, both young and old, and have a much better chance of achieving everything that we ever dreamed about with them. I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.